Today we'll be doing a 100-hour service on this generator, and these are the things you'll need. It's in 10W30 oil, along with maybe an oil container. You'll also need a bristle brush and a pair of pliers. A cordless drill makes things faster with a 5/16 bit on it, a 7mm ratchet, and then also a 10mm wrench as well, along with a 13/16 spark plug tool, which you can use the one that was provided with the generator, along with a spark plug gap tool. Some towels are handy, along with some gloves, a torch if you want to make things a little bit more fun towards the end, and also this oil extractor, which I'll show you how this works, and I'll leave a link of that down below, along with your manual. The first thing you want to do is fire up the generator and warm it up. This will thin out the oil, which will make it easier for extraction later. And you'll also want to warm up the oil, as using that oil extractor is a little hard when the oil is cold. Use the 5/16 bit on the drill and pop off the side panel. Go ahead and take a towel and place it underneath. That way, if you drop anything, this will ensure that you can regain it quickly and not get lost down in the abyss. Go ahead and pop off the oil dipstick and take a note of where it was. That way you can get familiar with the oil levels as you use your generator. We're going to go ahead and use this oil extraction device. This makes things pretty quick and simple. It will take maybe a couple times for you to learn how to use it. It's not that hard, but this is why you want the oil warm, is that when you use the bigger tube on this oil extractor, it can just suck it right out and make quick work of this oil change. This is where you'll want to have your disposal bin on the ready, because now you can just take out the tube and then go ahead and put it into your waste container. This makes the job really quick. You can still use the drain bolt that is right underneath, or you could do this method. This is only about $15 for this, and since I do service a lot of generators, this makes my life a lot easier, especially with the small ones, because it's only one pull. It's empty, I dispose of it, and then I just quickly fill it up with fresh new oil. This is where we're going to go ahead and move on and clean the oil screen. Now this is not an oil filter, it's just simply a screen that helps catch any debris like metal shavings and more. You can see the oil drain bolt just off to the left, that silver one. Now when you take this out, again, it's just a screen and not a filter, so this is simple to clean. Just go ahead and unthread it, go ahead and take it out, and then we'll see if there's anything on it. Now this generator only has about 4 hours on it, and I changed the oil at 1 hour. Now you can see a few metal shavings, but this is pretty minor, nothing to worry about. Now I don't have any parts cleaner, so I am just using WD-40, as this stuff is always great for cleaning most everything. And then you just take some light compressed air, go ahead and dry it off, and now this part is done. Now we can go ahead and reinstall this, and then we'll move on to the next part. And for those that want to see what the shavings look like on top of the waste container, this is what they look like, pretty minor. Now we can go ahead and get our new oil, and again, this is not the late great oil debate. Go ahead and just find a 10W30, something that you're going to use, or a 5W30 works excellent. You can use pretty much any brand that's a name brand, Amazon Basics, Walmart SuperTech, anything that is just a name brand oil is going to be fine. Your generator is going to care more about the frequency that you change it versus the brand. It doesn't care, it doesn't know which one is which. Semi-synthetic if you want, or even a full synthetic after your first oil change would be fine. Now one thing that's nice about this extractor is that when you go to fill it, you can automatically see what's going on, so you don't overfill it using a funnel. So I can see it come all the way up the threads. I know it's full and I can just put the cap back on, do a quick cleanup, and we'll move on. This is also an excellent time to inspect your generator, looking for loose bolts or any kind of wires that might be getting frayed by rubbing up against the engine, as it does vibrate. So a quick inspection just ensures that you're taking care of a problem before it becomes a bigger problem. So anytime you do your oil change, a quick visual is always good. Reinstall the side panel and the 3 bolts. Go to the other side and uninstall that side panel, and we'll move on to the next part. We are going to go ahead and start with a spark plug boot, which go ahead and remove this. This is where you will take the 13/16 spark plug socket or the tool that came with the generator and go ahead and take this out. Now if you're using a spark plug socket with the rubber boot, they can be a little bit stiff, especially if they are new. Now being that this generator only has 4 hours on it and I only run it on propane, the spark plug looks very good. Now I do recommend, if you don't have an NGK spark plug, swap this out to an NGK plug and use the BPR60S plug and replace it appropriately with something new. If it still looks good, you can still run it until it starts to kind of get harder to start, but when you gap this, it's normally going to be 28 to 32 thousandths. This one here is right at 32, but because I only run propane, I'm going to drop the gap to about 20 thousandths, as this just helps with starting, especially when it's colder. So just a small tip if you're going to run propane or natural gas. And so you can see I ended up tightening the gap just a little bit too much, so use the opener by just prying it out a little bit, and then it fits into the 20,000s, and then go ahead and reinstall the new spark plug. Now a tip is to turn it counterclockwise to help seat the threads, because this is something you do not want to strip or you have pretty much ruined your day. Now spark plugs come with a crush washer, so you just get it till it's snug and then a quarter turn, and then that is finished. Now sometimes these are hard to get off because of the rubber boot, but we'll go ahead and move on. Next, we're going to do the air filter, and there is a thumb screw at the bottom of the air box. This will allow us to get into the air box by unscrewing this and then go ahead and pull out towards the front of the generator and then lift it up, and this is what's going to allow you to pull it out. Now you do have a propane hose that is up at the top that might get in the way, so go ahead and move that. Go ahead and pull out your air filter. Now this is only got 4 hours on it again, so it's pretty clean, and I use it in a clean area, but there really isn't much of an oil kind of a coating on it, and there really should be just a light coat to help catch all the fine particles. Now when it comes to washing this, a container with some Dawn dish soap works really well. You just keep washing it until it comes clean, and then go ahead and wring it out and wait until it's dry. Then we're going to go ahead and oil it, and you can use air filter oil or motor oil. I'll leave some links below of some stuff you can use. And then just go ahead and put it inside a sandwich bag that fits the air filter, and you're going to end up coating the bag on the inside pretty evenly. Then we're going to distribute it onto the air filter itself. Now we don't want to add too much because you don't want to saturate it. You're really just putting a small coat on the outside, on the flat surfaces, and around the edges. Once there's a light coat all the way around the air filter, now we can go ahead and reinstall this. Now if you don't remember which way you pulled it out, or if you bought a new one, that's okay, because this is universal. You can put it in either direction. Those indents are just from the lid, so that gives you one indication of how it goes. When you place the lid back on, you're going to put it on from the top first, then this thumb screw, then you can go ahead and tighten it up, and we'll go ahead and move on. Go to the front of your generator and make sure that the fuel source is in the off position, that way the gas is not on. We're also going to turn off this fuel petcock as well, so you do have two on this particular generator. This is so we can service a sediment bowl, which is a little bit like a fuel filter, as debris and water can also sit in there. You will need that small 10mm socket, or some kind of a wrench also works. There's not a lot of room in here, as you can see by my hand, and also trying to put the camera in so I can also see, but go ahead and loosen this up until you can spin it off with your hand. Also, by placing a towel here, this can collect any fuel that might be left in it, and if you happen to drop it, it will not go down into the abyss. It will just fall onto the towel and you'll be able to retrieve it much easier. Now, I've never ran gas in here, but I assume from the factory they did, and you can see there actually is a little bit of fuel that is left over, which this has been in here for almost about a year, and it kind of makes me wonder what kind of fuel they have over there and if there is any fuel conditioner in here, but there is no debris. There's also no water, so we'll dump that out. But again, you can use some parts cleaner, the WD-40. Go ahead and spray this out, and then go ahead and just reinstall it. But don't forget to turn the fuel petcock back on if you are using gasoline. Now, if you are storing your generator for a long time, this is the fuel screw that drains the fuel float bowl. Now, this is just going to go to the bottom of the generator, and there's not a whole lot that'll come out. You just place a towel in there. But here is another tip, is that this is your small jet. This little small jet can get plugged very easy. That there's your adjuster screw for your idle. Now, in order to take that out, you just count the turns going in, and that is the setting. So maybe 5 turns, you back it out to 5, that's the original setting, then you just take it all the way out. And then you can just take that small jet, pop it out, and this is what it looks like. It is super small, and it only takes the slightest bit of debris to plug it up, and you only need something like this little bit of wire in order to unplug it. I'll take just this one strand and place it into the bottom of the jet, and you can see how small this hole is. This little hole, if plugged, can cause a world of problems with starting your generator on gasoline, and it can also cause idle issues and more. So this is really simple to service, but can cause a world of problems and can get plugged pretty easy. So if you happen to have hard starting or surging, that is the first place to go to, or spark plug. That is easy diagnostics right there. Just about anybody can do it. Just write everything down on a piece of paper so you don't forget how many turns that screw is. Also go to the top and don't forget your fuel strainer. This is really just a quick visual, and again you can use WD-40 or a parts cleaner to clean this out if there happens to be any debris. Now, if you want to check your valves, you'll have to take the valve cover off, and there is a little breather hose. Go ahead and remove this. There is also a ground wire that goes through it. This little ground wire has a small crimp on it, and honestly looks like it could break pretty easy if you pull on it too hard. It is pretty small, but again, now when it comes to adjusting your valves, you have the exhaust and the intake, which is forward. That's going to be at the front of the engine, and the exhaust will be at the back of the engine where the muffler is. Now when it comes to adjusting valves, there's only 4 hours on here. So again, there's not really a reason to check it. And there is a saying that holds true. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. There's a lot of people that want to inspect or adjust their valves and they don't need to. Especially if your generator is still running correctly, it starts easy, the spark plug color looks good, it's not backfiring and everything is running correctly, then don't mess with it. Some people get 250, 500, maybe even 1,000 hours before they need an adjustment. And if you are wondering what the clearances are, you can see what the intake and the exhaust valve clearances are in the manual. And this is also another good time to do a full inspection of this side with the side panel off. Just a couple things to go, which is going to be our exhaust screen and also the spark arrestor. Now this does hold a clamp and you just need a 7mm. You could pull this whole back panel off, but I'm just going to use a 7mm wrench and just take my time and pull it off. By the time I pulled off the whole back panel, I would probably be around the same time doing it. Remove the hose clamp. Now I was a little bit lazy to go get another tool, so I used my wrench to pry it off. And there is our spark arrestor. Now again, only running propane and having 4 hours, it's going to run much cleaner than if you were running this on gas. So you can see that even with 4 hours, there's hardly any debris or soot on this. But if it was heavily caked, just take a bristle brush and brush it off, but that's not nearly as fun. Using a torch is a little bit more fun and makes quick work, especially if this is really coated with a lot of soot on it. This will burn right through it, but I do recommend being outside if you are going to do that. That way you're not breathing any of this in. But I have taken very dirty spark arrestors and made them look brand new by just utilizing a torch. And then after about a minute, it'll look like this, brand new and ready to go. So then you can go ahead and just reinstall this. It is going to be hot, so be careful. And we're going to do the same thing on the exhaust screen as well. Now this is going to be hot, so take care when you do reinstall this, or put it in some water and let it cool off. Just tap it back into place with either a little board or something. Now when I reinstall this, I'm going to turn it just a little bit. This is going to help get the wrench on it, so I'm going to put it up around here, as this gives me just a little bit more room. And now for the final step, go ahead and turn the generator back on, check for any leaks or anything, and I hope this video helped you out, and be sure to check out my other ones as well.